يا إلهي يا إلهي.
Hey guys, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I asked you guys a trivia question about the word Iblis, why he's called that and what his name means, and a lot of you answered the question from lectures I gave, I don't know, more than 12 years ago. So I was pretty happy that you did that, but I wanted to add something to those notes. Inshallah, this is actually part of a story night that I'm teaching now called Whisper, where I talk about the story of the devil and ourselves. But anyway, let's get to the answer real quick. The way to understand this is that Allah has done something remarkable in the Quran with words that aren't originally from Arabic. He uses words that are foreign to the Arabic language, and they were Arabized, they were brought into the Arabic language, some of them, and they retain their original meaning, but they also now have an added Arabic meaning. So I'm going to first talk to you about the original meanings of the word Iblis and where it comes from, and then the Arabic meaning, inshallah. We'll put both of those two things together. And that's what strategically Allah does, the owner of all languages. He fuses those meanings together in a really beautiful and intricate way in the Quran. So let's talk about the word Iblis. In the Old English, the word for the devil is duivel. And in Dutch, they called him duivel, and in German, teufel. Which actually comes from the Greek origin, which is diabolos, like in Spanish, diablo, right? Diablo, right? So diabolos. And from diabolos part actually becomes iblis. It's actually derived from there. And that original word, diabolos, actually means accuser and slanderer. And that tells us a lot about what's going to happen in the story and how his name is being used in the Quran. Because in some places Allah uses the word shaitan, and other places Allah uses the word iblis. And there's actually a strategic difference between those two. But anyway, the original meaning of the word diabolos is the one who accuses and the one who slanders. Now that tells you something about anybody who makes accusations and does slander and how much they have in common with the devil himself. When it comes to the Arabic language, however, the word balasa, in its origin from iblis, ablasa, is actually used for things that are hiding something on the inside, but they look different on the outside. So they'll use it for fruit that looks perfectly normal, but as soon as you open it, it's all melted and gooey inside, like it's not a fresh fruit at all. Right? So that's actually a kind of balas. Similarly, they use it for a camel that looks normal, but is going through a lot of pain on the inside. So the theme in the root is something that shows no negativity on the outside, but on the inside is basically gone bad. Like it's completely rotted on the inside, or it's about to release from the inside. And from it comes the idea ablas ar-rajul, which means a person became hopeless or sad or speechless, to the point where they're not saying anything, but there's a lot that they're holding inside them. And so from the word iblis, we actually get not just hopelessness, but this idea that the devil was hiding something deep inside him for a long time, and on the outside it didn't show, but it was actually going on all along on the inside. And every time you see in the Quran the word Iblis being used, it's going to be used alongside the story of his refusal to do the sajda. And that tells you a lot about that story. It's actually Allah, just by using that name, He's telling you a lot of interesting things about what actually happened in the story, what was going on in the devil's head when he refused to do that sajda. So we'll talk more about that inshallah in a couple of days. In a few hours you'll see another trivia question that's coming up soon or sooner. So let's see how you guys answer that one. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hey guys, I asked you guys a question about why was Adam alayhi salam sent to the earth, and you sent a bunch of very interesting and actually pretty much correct answers. So I wanted to organize our thoughts about that a little bit in these couple of minutes. One of my challenging tasks in the Story Night program, Whisper, is going to be to try to reconcile all of these different answers, and there's 4 ways of looking at it. The first of them is, of course, as always, Allah's plan. Like Allah already said in the Quran, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, when He created the human being, He told the angels that He's putting someone on the earth. So even before the tree incident and all of it, then it was known that Adam alayhi salam is going to come to the earth. So one clear answer is that, yeah, it was always part of the plan that he was going to be on the earth. The second is that he ate from the tree, and as a result of eating from the tree, Allah says to him that you must now descend to the earth because of your disobedience. And that's also very clear in the Quran that that's also a legitimate answer. The third is كَمَا أَخْرَجَ أَبَوَيْكُم مِّنَ الْجَنَّةِ in Surah Al-A'raf. He says, just as the devil was the reason, and the devil got both of your parents expelled from heaven. So Allah's plan, they ate from the tree and it was the devil's fault. That's also true. That's also in the Quran. And the fourth, interestingly enough, is actually that human beings were already told all of us, including Adam alayhi salam, that they're going to be put on this earth and we're going to be put to test, and we agreed to take that test. Now, all four of those answers seem like very different answers, and we have to figure out a way of reconciling all of them and really getting a grand picture of what it means that Allah Azza wa Jalla sent us on this earth, keeping in mind all four of those responses. And that's going to be one of my challenges, inshallah, in discussing this program, or discussing this part of the story in Story Night. So I look forward to seeing many of you there in Virginia, and hopefully pretty soon you'll see a worldwide calendar for this new Story Night also. Jazakallah Khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hey, I asked you guys a question about the difference between the biblical version of the story of Adam alayhi salam and the Quran's version. There are actually several differences. What I wanted to share with you first is that there are some modern academics that argue that the Quran borrowed and did a poor job of borrowing from the narrative in the Bible and messed up some parts, so it inaccurately copied, because of course they don't believe it's from Allah, so they believe it inaccurately plagiarized parts of the story of creation. And there are a number of things that are very different in the Quran, and our response to that is actually that the Quran is retelling the story as it is recorded in the Bible, but is actually correcting the inaccuracies or the changes that have been made over time. And so the account of the story, a lot of times, and you know what, a lot of times the version that a lot of you may have heard in Sunday school, or because, you know, we're exposed to media and there's a lot of Christian influenced cartoons and movies and things like that about the story of creation. There's the picture of, you know, like Adam and Eve going towards a tree, or a snake, you know, that came into heaven and all of that. These are the biblical versions of the story. But the Quran's version of the story is actually fundamentally very different, from the way it describes the devil, his name and where he came from, and his origin story, basically, to the way that, you know, the dialogue between Adam alayhi salam and Allah Azza wa Jal takes place, the dialogue that takes place between Iblis and Allah Azza wa Jal. It's fundamentally different on a number of accounts, and each of those accounts is important to highlight. For example, you know, the Quran is very adamant about claiming that the tree that was eaten from, both our parents ate from it. Like, he holds both of them responsible at the same time, which is not the case in the Bible. Actually, there's a chain from the devil to Eve to Adam, but in the Quran they're both held equally responsible, and the dual form of the verb is used on a number of occasions. So that's actually one, for example, a very important distinction between the two, and it changes the way we look at sin itself and the relationship between men and women itself. So you know, among other differences are even the role of the devil, and the way he was before, and what role he played and what role he played after, and the way that the interaction with the devil goes. And another really interesting one is the tree. You know, the Bible says that Adam ate from the tree of good and evil, and there was a concern that if he were to be allowed to stay in heaven, then he's going to attain or eat from the tree of you know, immortality, basically the tree of life. And so out of concern for that, he was sent to the earth. But the Quran's actually arguing, first of all, that the tree did not have any such significance, and the only time that the Quran even makes reference to the tree, you know, what tree is it, is actually the devil trying to trick Adam alayhi salam into believing it's a tree that will give them eternal life, or a tree that will turn them into angels. So, you know, every element of the story, actually you'll find some significant difference in the way the Quran has constructed and articulated this profound first historical story, the story of all of us. So just wanted to give a little bit of a tidbit about that. Inshallah, some details will be coming forward when I teach this story night that I'm super excited about. It's happening tomorrow, so inshallah ta'ala, make dua that it goes well. Jazakallah Khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hey everyone, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for sending me your reflections on your, you know, what moved you most about the story. Some of you said some really cool things, some of you said some really weird things, but that's cool, because I wanted to know what kinds of thoughts people have about the story. And one of the reasons I'm doing this tour is because this is probably the most famous story in all three of the Abrahamic religions. And there are a lot of misconceptions associated with this story, but you know, some of the reflections you shared are very powerful and truly profound. There's a few hours before story night starting, and I'm just putting my last minute prep in together. So inshallah ta'ala, I just wanted to ask all of you to make dua that it goes well. Those of you that are coming, it's a good time for you to let family and friends know. Inshallah, I'm just going to have an open door policy, so you know, even if people are coming in last minute, it's okay, inshallah. So as many people as we can fit. I know there's limited capacity, but I just have a policy of just letting people through the door. It's no big deal. So inshallah, hopefully we benefit a lot. And also my reminder is to invite non-Muslim friends, neighbors, co-workers, whoever, that may be curious about Islam, that are thinking about Islam, that know nothing about Islam. This might be a good opportunity for them also, inshallah. So again, make dua that it goes well tonight, and hopefully see you guys soon, many of you, and for the rest of you, wait for me until I come to your town. Jazakallah Khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, bye. Hey guys, assalamu alaikum. It's a day late, but Zamin shad bad, Ishware Hasin shad bad, Nishane Asme Ali Shan Arze Pakistan, Markaze Yakin shad bad. Okay, bye.